Lamborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both, or all of you, for being here. I appreciate it, and we all do. Secretary Carter, as you know, Qatar is an important partner of ours. We have troops stationed there, and they have played a role in the counter-ISIS fight. However, they are playing both sides. There are a number of U.S. designated terrorist financiers operating openly in Qatar. The leadership of Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, openly operates there, and they've been financing some very bad Islamist extremists. So my question is, how can the U.S. hold them accountable, and how can we make it clear that playing both sides is simply unacceptable?
Thank you for the question. The Qatar, as with other of our coalition partners in the fight against ISIL, are being very helpful, and in the case of the Qataris, in terms of the air base we use, indispensable. At the same time, not everything that our coalition partners do in the region are things that we support or that we think are constructive with respect either to the ISIL fight or other things. And so all of our partners we are trying to work with so that we get their support for the fight against ISIL, but we can continue to work with them on areas where we disagree. And there are disagreements we have with almost all of our coalition partners that are helping us with ISIL, and we just try to work through them.
But, Secretary, I understand that we may disagree on this or that issue, but when their policy is cutting against what we're trying to accomplish in that very fight, I've got a real problem with that.
Well, we have problems with that, too, in some cases, and we explain that, in our view, their policies are contradictory in that way, but we have those disagreements with them we try to work through, while at the same time benefiting from their help where we can agree, but we don't agree 100% of the time.
Okay, thank you. Also, Secretary Carter or Dempsey, on the AUMF, I have a real problem with the two major limitations that the President has put into his proposed language, a limitation on time and a limitation on scope. Is it right to be tying the hands of this President or a future President in that way?
I'll start first, and then Chairman.
And if you've already addressed this, I apologize. I was in another committee, and I just came back.
No, I did not. On the scope, the proposed AUMF gives us wide scope to conduct the campaign that we're anticipating against ISIL. The time limitation has nothing to do with the length of the campaign. I cannot tell you that the campaign will be over in 3 years. I don't think anybody can tell you that. That feature of the AUMF is included for reasons that are not military related. They're related to the fact, they're derived from the fact that we will have a new president in 3 years. And the AUMF provides for a new president, and for that matter, a new Congress, to revisit this issue. Now, that's not something that comes from the Secretary of Defense, or I would say from our thinking, but we understand and respect it. It derives from the way the Constitution regards use of military force as a very grave matter in which both the Congress and the executive branch play a role. So I understand that, I respect that, but the number 3 doesn't come from the campaign. It comes from our political system. And again, as I understand and respect that, and I hope the result of all this is an AUMF that tells our troops that we're behind them in this fight. That's the key thing to me, in addition to having the flexibility to carry out the campaign that'll win.
Congressman, I was consulted on the AUMF before submitted to you, and I believe it does allow us to execute the campaign that we anticipate against ISIL. I think what you're sensing is the difference in using military force against state actors, nation states, and these groups of non-state actors, which have a very different character to them. And I think the last time we ever were handed a completely unconstrained authorization to use force was probably Eisenhower's orders on the eve of the invasion of Europe, where he was told to take the armed forces of the United States, deploy them to the continent of Europe, and defeat Nazi Germany. That's probably the last time we've had a completely unconstrained AUMF.